welcome to Chasing Pelagics. I'm Jeff, and this is your SoCal fishing forecast for Wednesday, coming to you a day early, June 4th. Quick look at our 10-day weather pattern here. As you can tell, we've got potentially some more sun coming up here in our forecast. Still got a little bit of this morning cloudiness, little morning dew fog thing happening here for the next several days. It's going to keep our winds light though, which is the good news. Quick look at our wind pattern here. As we see, most of the week is pretty much going to be under 10 knots. Much like what we've had the last several days. The only difference is that we're not going to have a cutoff low. That's going to be bringing moisture up from a hurricane that was rapidly decompressing, bringing moisture back into the area. Still a chance for a little bit of moisture tomorrow, Wednesday morning, but not like what we've seen with these erratic thunderstorms and basically over the last 4 days we've seen it. If that was only going to be 2, and then it got stretched out to 4, but it looks like most of that moisture is going to be gone come tomorrow. So, but as you can tell from the forecast, I mean, pretty light weather conditions overall for the next several days, and we'll talk about kind of what that's been doing to the fishing. It's been a little bit erratic, but that's why they call it fishing. So this is our 8-day temperature chart here. The cloud cover, again, this time of year, not giving us a great one-day picture, but you can kind of dispel that it's pretty much in pattern with what we got here. Same with the 3-day, not much out of there. So you can see that the 8-day is relatively pretty close to accurate. We haven't had any wild wind to really push stuff around too much, so I think this chart is pretty accurate as far as what's going on overall. You'll notice we have 66, 67 degree water for most of the bite, and then we have a pretty hard temp break that's lined up here from, we'll call it from the Osborne all the way down to Cortez and down to the Boomerang, and then we have much cooler 6-degree water on this side. So a pretty dramatic shift, and we'll talk about how that's kind of played into the fishing over the last several days. Chlorophyll, borophyll. You'll see we still have this nice little eddy hanging out here of dirty water, and I like this. I like this hanging here. This could potentially help our local inshore fishing in the coming weeks, based on what I'm seeing here. No signs of that red tide or in that algae bloom that we were having last month. That seems to have gone away, which is great news. And you'll see we have some off and on dirty water here at the Coronados. And here's a little 3-day for you. No view in the 3-day. So that chlorophyll or that green water is going to really change the fishing at the Coronados. And again, this is going to be a day-by-day thing. You might have to go a little bit west, check the weather side, see how things are lining up. But water clarity dramatically affects the bite at these islands. So keep that in mind if you're going to look at those. Let's go back to our 8-day chart here and talk about what we got going on. I did go out in the water Saturday, and it was one of those days where I didn't know where I was going to go until I woke up and I looked at the weather, and threw me for a little bit of a loop on Friday. I mentioned that we have those lighter wind conditions, but there's potential for tropical energy coming in. And if you recall Friday, that moisture and overcast dense air filled in super fast. The air temperature dropped, and you could tell that there's going to be some unsettling conditions just based on what happened in like that 6-hour period. So that stuff ended up hanging out overnight, and I was really deciding between 3 options. 1, fish Catalina. 2, fish bluefin, which had moved up with some of that weather over that day. Or come fish San Clemente Island for yellows on the front side. So I always mention early season, bluefin are hard to stay on top of, especially with changing conditions. We saw them, they were pegged down here like 157 to the condom, the 267, kind of bouncing around this little area. And then overnight, they went to the 277. Carl from Arapelakia took some photos of them on Thursday night. And by Friday, they were out here just about to the 7-Eleven. That's about as far west as they got. So I didn't, after seeing them here one day, I didn't expect them to hang out there based on the conditions of water temperature and just the overall weather pattern in general. So when we went to the 7-Eleven, this is about the end of my fuel range that I feel comfortable with in my current boat. 75 miles one way from Dana Point. It's not like you're driving 75 miles out here and then just chilling. You got to find those fish and stay on top of them. But the difference was, and this is kind of goes into my thought process just for you guys to try and figure out when you're making your own game plan. Like, you need to adapt to the conditions that best suit you and the tools that you have available to you. So, one, end of my fuel range, if you're going to be out here looking for bluefin, you'll be doing a lot of driving around, trolling, eyes in the binoculars, right? And that morning, it was a very, very moist morning. It wasn't raining, but it was drizzly the whole way. Limited visibility, probably a mile, maybe a little bit less. Not really conducive to looking through the gyros all day long when you're trying to spot birds. You can still use bird mode on the radar, but that's only going to get you so far. And when your biggest key and factor for bluefin is going to be visual, especially in a private boat, and I don't have a big sonar to meter fish on all sides of the boat. A lot of boxes got unchecked for me to go chase bluefin, especially on a pretty finicky bite when they're moving around like that. So, combination of reasons why: poor visibility, not conducted to what my game plan is, into my fuel range, and a finicky bite. To me, that was 3 strikes out. So I pretty much crossed this off my box that I wasn't going to go check that out. Second, I was very interested in San Clemente Island. Although the Navy was performing a lot of exercises, and that was basically on the bottom half of the island, so that ruled out Pyramid Cove. I was really only leaving the top 2/3 of the front side to be able to go fish. Although there was some yellowtail there, I probably could have picked some up. Navy officers being busy there, and I figured probably going to get a little crowded too. And of course, the unsettled sea lion population there was just as hungry as the fishermen were. So there's another extra box I was thinking about still going for, but then once that moisture came in and the possibility of thunderstorms, if you've been caught in one before or had to drive around one, you'll understand things happen, and they happen fast. And if you saw, I don't know if you guys know who Mike Lane is, but he was out on his bass boat in Mexican waters and got stuck in that thunderstorm on Saturday morning that popped up, or Saturday mid-afternoon that popped up off San Diego. Sent everybody running, and you get those big gusts and things like that. And to drive around one of those on the way back is a long ways around. So I figured I just played safe, stay close to home, and beautiful day out. The island was definitely crowded. I didn't expect to find a spot I could squeeze into on a squid bed, considering there's basically guys parked out there since, the week before, essentially. I opted not to pick up live squid, based that more of the bite was really during the nighttime or super early morning hours. I didn't have a chance to get out here that early, so I settled for some anchovies and a little bit of sardine mix at Dana. Made the run out here pretty quick. Like I said, it was like a lake out there. It was pretty flat. And then I just did some bass fishing for the day. For the most part, I brought the bluefin gear just in case. Like I said, if there was fish in the area, I'd rather have it on the boat and not have it. But I didn't really plan on using it, but I brought it anyway. I did some bass fishing until about 12:30, 1 o'clock. It's wide open, calicos and barracuda, all you wanted. On the east side, really just had to find a little bit of current going into the kelp, and it was all you wanted. Didn't have any trouble catching those all day. Again, just sticking to anchovies, a little 3 to 4 inch, occasional 5 inch one, and number 4 hooks, circle hooks is what I was using just to make it a little easier. But yeah, all you wanted, fun day. I did slide out to the 152. Didn't want to go quite to the 277 just to see what the water looked like off the island. There's a pretty good current at the east end, so I thought there'd be a chance of maybe seeing a game fish along this edge here, if you want to take a look at what I'm talking about. But no, off the slide as you come here, there's a nice steep wall, and usually if you got current, it kind of pushes up colder water to the surface, and usually this is a pretty good fishy area. So I figured a good run to the 152 would give me an idea of something was worth looking for. I didn't see anything that really broadened my interest other than some. There's a little bit of kelps here on the end, on the east end, as the current was pushing around the island, but wasn't holding anything. Ran from the 152 back home. Between the 14 and the 267, there's a ton of bait, probably like 3 or 4 miles of it. All, I'd say like 50 feet, 100 to 50 feet underwater. Whole area was filled with shearwaters. Really didn't see any turns all day. I saw 4 on one patty, and that was it. But I probably slept on like probably 10 patties, all empty. But a good bait holding zone here. Pretty encouraged by the signs I saw here. Also, anchovy were piled up this whole edge here on the backside of Catalina. There was schools everywhere. Really surprised there wasn't game fish coming up into it, but it is what it is. We're still a little bit early here in the season, so overall nice day in the water. But yeah, I kind of just stuck to what I thought was the best option for me. Hopefully you guys that got out in the water had a nice day and avoided the thunderstorm. And like I said, safety is always the most important thing here. But let's get back to the rest of the fishing report here and our temperature charts. So sea bass have kind of slowed down here at the Channel Islands the last couple of days. You know, these things go in phases kind of with the tides and the moon. So sometimes they bite better, sometimes they don't. The last few days have been a little bit on the slower side. I expect them to pick up again on the next moon cycle, as they kind of always do. Probably a chance. I haven't heard anything from Nick or from Santa Barbara in a couple of weeks. I have a pretty good suspicion that there's some sea bass at Santa Barbara Island if you're willing to do the homework. The usual spots are probably worth a check. No secret. East end here on Cat and the west end by the island are pretty good. No well-known seed spots or sea bass spots wherever holds squid. It's usually sea bass around, not far from the lunchroom. San Clemente Island, we've seen a little bit of run of yellows on both sides of, at the west end, on the front side, and at Pyramid. Unfortunately, Pyramid's been kind of busy with the Navy lately, and sea lions have not made it very helpful on the front side as well. Some days it's been biting pretty good to get 10 or 12 on some of the sport boats. Some days it's none, and they've been opting for a little bit of halibut fishing, which today seemed like it was pretty good. So you've got to pick your poison and what's working and go for it. Bluefin. So as mentioned last week when we gave our forecast, they were pretty much working this little basin right here and kind of bouncing around. They slid up Thursday to the 277, then went west to the 711, and then come Saturday afternoon, they were at the Tanner, and then Sunday they made it to the Cortez, and then yesterday showed kind of back up a little bit at the 381, seen a little bit closer to the backside of the island here as well. So you kind of look here. The name of this website is called tempbreak.com, and it's for a reason. That's where fish usually pile up. And we have pretty much a temp break right here on multiple structures going north and south. And although this is extremely early to see bluefin out on the Cortez and Tanner, usually this time of year, if you go out exploring here, one, it's usually too rough because of the northwest winds. And usually we have June gloom, which is bringing that eddy condition in, and overcast skies, into the bite here, with that little bit of south wind pushing this water continually north, as it normally does in May and June. But that wind, we don't have that wind right now. So it's kind of screwed up the bluefin. They're like, well, this isn't what's supposed to be going on. This is, tropical low wind conditions is a September, October wind pattern, and they went west where they normally are in those time periods. So you got to realize that wind and currents, they cooperate together, and the fish, their cue is not by GPS, but it's by weather conditions. So to me, that makes the most sense why these fish ended up west again, all the way out to this line. Now, water temp wise speaking, everything on this chart is bluefin water. Bluefin, typically in the SoCal Bight, will hang out until 72 degrees, and then that's too toasty. They got to start looking for cooler water when it comes to the surface temp. Then usually 72 is when you get, the yellowfin start showing up along with Dorado and whatnot. So usually they kind of split up and separate. But as far as temperature wise, this is still all bluefin water. There's nothing too toasty on this chart for a bluefin, but really it's the wind condition is what I think made them move and head way west. Now going back to our wind charts here, you'll notice that Sunday of this week coming up, this is, again, we're looking at trend, not specifics here, but we kind of get back to that eddy flow right here. So this is more of the June weather, more of that overcast flow that we're normally seeing. Tuesday, a little bit lighter, but still an eddy flow, right? Wednesday, a little lighter. Thursday, light. Friday comes back northwest, and we'll probably see a little bit of that eddy again. So I think once that wind comes, like you see right here on the 15th, these fish are going to slide back closer to home and get back into their normal grind. I think that's what's going to happen here. So we'll see how it plays out. That's my prediction. Is always trying to figure out where the fish you think that they're going to go based on what we're seeing. So plenty of bait in the water. I know there's been a little lack of sardine, but like I said, all the sport boats are fishing these at night. Why are they fishing these bluefin at night? It's because that is the most productive way that they can catch them with 30 passengers on the boat. It makes no sense for them to only fly a kite during the daytime and look for these things when you're fishing one kite at a time, maybe a backpack rig or two. So you're going to get 3 guys hooked up when they can make one stop in the dark and have all 25 people on the boat hang a fish at the same time, get all the work done rather quickly, get limits, peace out, and get back out of there. That's the most productive way for a sport boat with a ton of passengers to catch fish. It's not that they can't be caught during the day. That's just the way that they do it best with the number of passengers that they have on the boat. So keep that in mind. If you're going to go target these things, that's what these boats have been doing for the most part. Saying that they can't be caught not during the nighttime is not true. Spreader bars, the kite works fine. Backpack rigs, if you still have a frequent flyer around, another option for you. But you can target these fish in the daytime, and that's how all the private 6-pack charters are going to be doing, because they're not going to be out there with sonar in the dark driving around. That's not their cup of tea. That's not their program for catching these fish. So keep that in mind here when you talk about, or when you hear about these reports about, oh, they're only getting them at night and they're not seeing the daytime. No, they're there in the daytime. They're just not catching them or trying to target them in the way that they're easily caught in the daytime. So foamer fishing, yeah, you might see them on top. And if you're in a private boat, you can definitely target those with some poppers, things like that. But you know how bluefin get? They get skittish, and they're a little hard to see on top of with the foamer fishing. So use what tool works best for your program, and that's how you'll be productive in catching them. So that's it for this week, guys. That's all I got for you. There will be no forecast next week. I am heading to Alaska. And I think this is going to be my last trip to Alaska for quite some time. I've been going since 2008, pretty much on the regular, every single summer. But unfortunately, the fishing in Alaska has degraded atrociously from being commercial fished by trawlers, and the fishing is not what it used to be. Recreational limits have come down. Days of catching 5 or 6 salmon a day and taking them home no longer. Just to give you some perspective, Now, just in the last 5 years, there's always been kind of a slot limit for halibut, but now that slot limit's all the way down to 35 inches. I mean, I can catch a 35-inch halibut, California. Why would you spend the money to go to Alaska to fish a 35-inch halibut? Sure, commercial slots, you can buy a tag, but a 1 gaff tag for a commercial fish is about $400. You know, that's a lot of money for 1 halibut. And if you don't fill it with one in that size, then you got to fill it with a smaller fish also. So kind of a bummer there. And then also, you can no longer fish for halibut on Tuesdays in Southeast Alaska as a recreational angler. Also, they're down to 1 king salmon per person per year for out-of-state residents. So I can think of a lot of other places I'd rather spend my time fishing or paying to go fish on a trip than somewhere that's going to basically ruin recreational fishing in Alaska, and all for the name of trawlers for Alaskan pollock for McDonald's and your freezer fish at Costco. So unfortunately, that's it. If you guys want to hear more about that, check out Stop Trawler Bycatch Facebook group or Salmon State. All these organizations have been trying to put a voice out there, but unfortunately, commercial fishing, especially companies like Trident Seafood that do $2.5 billion in revenue, have money for lobbyists, and lining the pockets of politicians. And unfortunately, all the small mom and pop fishing lodges that take people out recreational fishing, they don't have that type of budget or to do that type of thing. And they're trying to make their annual revenue in the 3 or 4 months that the weather in Alaska allows them to. But just to touch on that topic for those of you that are looking to go to Alaska or maybe spend money in Alaska, make sure you do some research on the areas that you're going, because the fishing has been changing pretty fast, and so has the regulations. And if you have been paying attention, we try and share some stuff on Instagram as well. But NOAA just tried to is slapping the recreational anglers in the Northeast for Atlantic bluefin, putting size limits on their fish and how many fish that they can keep, which is 1 or sometimes 0. They have commercial and non-commercial days up there as well. So being that NOAA doubled the bluefin tuna quota for Pacific bluefin, I wouldn't be surprised if some funny business starts happening with recreational limits again, all in the name of lining the pockets of people in commercial bluefin fishing. I see it coming. That seems to be the focus, is where's the money. So just do what you got to do out there, spread the word, fight the good fight, and let's try and keep recreational fishing great in California and available to all those out there. So that's it for this week, guys. Be safe out there on the water, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks. Cheers. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and check out our website and online store at chasingprojects.com. And make sure you share the stoke.